Okay, so we're gonna make some lemon garlic chicken. And for the ingredients, you'll need some parsley. I personally like fresh parsley. Some minced garlic. I get the kind pre-minced. Seasonings, you're gonna need smoked paprika, garlic powder, lemon pepper seasoning. You'll need an oil. I'm using vegetable oil. You're gonna need 4 tablespoons butter, 1 to 2 lemons, flour, all-purpose flour, heavy whipping cream, chicken broth, some fresh Parmesan cheese, which you will grate, and some thinly sliced chicken breast. I usually get 2 packages of those because I got a larger family. Okay, and then you're gonna need all your measurement tools. So I have out my 1/4 cup, my 1 cup measuring cup, my 2 cup measuring cups, and then I have a combination of the 1/2 teaspoon and the 1/4 teaspoon, okay? It's really important that you measure out all those ingredients and get everything prepped ahead, because it will really ruin your food if you have to slow down and prepare these things. So pre-mix everything, grate everything, shop everything. Hi, next I'm mixing out my dry ingredients. It calls for 1/4 tablespoon of all your seasonings, but I didn't have a 1/4 tablespoon. That comes out to like 3/4 of a tablespoon. Again, you can use the 1/4 teaspoon and 1/2 teaspoon together. That makes about the right measurement. So I just poured in the 2 parts of my lemon pepper, and I'm gonna do equal parts of the garlic powder and the smoked paprika next. Okay, so now I'm blended in all those ingredients, just kind of give them a quick stir. And the next thing I'm gonna do is grate up that Parmesan cheese. You're gonna need at least a 1/4 cup of the Parmesan cheese. So I'm just gonna use my cheese grater, and I'm gonna use the finer side to get that nice shaved side. Okay, so again, I'm gonna take that Parmesan and I'm just gonna grate it along. Notice it's got this really hard edge. That's normal, that's the way it comes, okay? And once you grate it, it's honestly gonna look like that powder stuff that you can buy in the jar. It's not refrigerated, but fresh Parmesan cheese just is way better. All right, so I got that 1/4 cup filled up with the Parmesan cheese. It doesn't need to be 100% exact, but that's about the amount you're gonna need to make your sauce. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put those ingredients, the dry seasoning, the Parmesan cheese, into containers. That way it's just easier to store them. And then the last thing I'm gonna do is cut up my parsley over here, and then I'm gonna store that in a container too, just so some of those things are ready to go. All right, because the parsley is just a garnish, I'm only gonna cut up a little bit of this. So I'm just gonna chop a little bit on this front side right here. Okay, so here's the chopped up parsley. Again, you don't need a lot. It's just kind of a garnish that goes on top of the final dish. Really good. Okay, so I'm gonna take my thinly cut chicken breast. Those are, I have about 8 of them. So that's the equivalent of about 4 chicken breasts, okay? And you would cut, vertically, so kind of like almost like butterflying them, but separating them obviously, okay? And then I'm gonna season that with smoked paprika, garlic powder, and lemon pepper seasoning on both sides. All right, so I just seasoned both sides of the chicken breasts that were cut in halves with smoked paprika, lemon pepper seasoning, garlic powder, okay? And my shaking obviously got a little heavy-handed here, so I'm just gonna kind of rub that in just to kind of balance out those seasonings, make sure they're well distributed. You don't have to wear gloves. I just prefer to do it. I don't like the feeling of raw chicken, kind of weird, okay? But again, I seasoned both sides, so you wanna make sure those are both well coated, okay? And then the next step I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be heating up my pan with some oil and 4 tablespoons of butter. And then once that's nice and hot, I'm gonna go ahead and add that chicken. All right, so the next part is I'm going to take this lemon and I'm gonna cut it up and juice it. And I'm just gonna use an old-fashioned juicer. Okay, so I'm heating up my pan right now. I got about a tablespoon of butter. I got some oil. This just helps coat things for the chicken. Just try to get that all the way around. I'm using cast iron, so got to make sure it's nice and well coated and that the pan is super hot for cooking the chicken. Okay, so we're making the lemon garlic chicken today. Okay, I am warming up a cast iron pan with 1 tablespoon of butter and some oil, waiting for it to get nice and hot before I add my 4 chicken breasts that are thinly sliced. So I sliced them in half and I seasoned those with smoked paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, and lemon pepper on both sides. Rubbed it in just to make sure it had a good coating, and just again waiting for that pan to get hot. Now that my pan is hot, I'm gonna go ahead and add in my chicken pieces. I'm gonna cook those for about 3 to 4 minutes until golden brown. So after you're done cutting and cooking these chicken breasts, you're gonna go ahead and pull those off. They're not gonna be 100% done. That's okay. We're just gonna pull them off, set them aside while we start to make our sauce. Okay, so the next thing you're gonna do, you have all these nice drippings. You're gonna add 4 more tablespoons of butter. And you're gonna add about 7 to 8 cloves of garlic, which is the equivalent of 2 tablespoons of the pre-minced garlic. So again, I'm gonna get these about 2 tablespoons worth of this, which is the equivalent to about 7 to 8 minced cloves of garlic. And I'm gonna add that in with my butter and drippings. Okay, I'm gonna just stir that around my pan real quick. Okay, so you're turning that nice golden brown color. That's what you want. Okay. Next, I'm gonna add in my 1/4 cup of flour. You'll see I'm just kind of mixing in that flour into that butter mix. Okay, next, after you add that flour, you're gonna add your 2 cups of your chicken broth. So just slowly pour that in. Okay. You may just know it's clumping from the flour. Again, you got to kind of break that down and mix it in really good. And then you're going to add in your 1 cup of your heavy cream. Okay. And then you're going to turn your temperature down to low. And you're going to start mixing all that up. Again, it's going to start to clump a little bit from that flour. That is okay. You just don't want the clump, so you want to try to push that down, get it broken in and mixed in really well. The next thing I'm going to be adding in is my grated Parmesan and the juice from 1 lemon. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add in that Parmesan cheese. I've already minced that. I'm going to add in my juice from 1 lemon. I already got that ready to go. And the last thing is I took 1/4 teaspoon of the seasonings that I used on the chicken. So that's smoked paprika, the onion powder, garlic powder, and lemon pepper. And I'm gonna go ahead and mix that in. Okay, you wanna give it a good stir. Again, you want all these ingredients well blended. Sometimes it's going to start to clump up. That's okay. Just make sure you're giving it a good mix. That way you're not getting a big clumpy bite as you're cooking. And it's going to have kind of this creamy, reddish, off-white color. So good. Okay. And then we're going to wait for that sauce to thicken up. All right, you can see that sauce is slowly starting to thicken. Bubbling there, just gonna give it a little light stir. Okay, still probably use like another minute or 2 on that low heat to get a nice thickening, but it's almost there. All right, now that that sauce is starting to thicken up, probably set it on low for about 5-6 minutes. You'll start to feel the little bit of pull. All right, now it's going to be that time to go ahead and add back in our chicken. So I'm going to just go ahead and start placing those chicken breasts back inside. And this is what's gonna allow the chicken to finish off cooking. Okay. And then the last thing I'm gonna do before I put that lid on is I'm gonna just go ahead and add on those lemon slices onto the top. They just add that nice, bright, acidic flavor. So you can really taste that delicious lemon coming through. All right. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put that lid back on. And I'm gonna, oh, wrong lid. Gonna go ahead and put that lid on. And I'm gonna cook that on low. So the 10-minute timer just went off. This is kind of what it looks like. You can see it got thicker. And I'm gonna go ahead and serve that over mashed potatoes, add some parsley. Right, and here's the final product. We got the lemon chicken over homemade mashed potatoes, sliced lemon, and some parsley to top it off.